Okay, Mr. Chair, we're ready to go when you are.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. And I will read the Land Acknowledgement Act. The City of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawawandak, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. I'll now go to item 3, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Okay, seeing none. Can I get moving towards the adoption of the agenda? Can I, when I'm calling for the secondary agenda and approval, could people put their video on for me so I can see the hands? Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Moved by Leslie, seconded by Councillor O'Hare. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? I'm going to assume that's carried. Item number 5, adoption of the minutes. We have the minutes of 2 meetings to adopt here, February 2nd, 2024 meeting and February 16th, 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Moved by Mark. Can I get a seconder? And that's Councillor Longo. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Okay, item number 6, we're going to go to a delegation here. This is related to the Partners for Climate Protection Program update. I will now call on Margaret Braun for her delegation. Margaret, you have 10 minutes to speak, followed by questions from the committee.
And I'll just chime in to the chair. Is anyone in the attendees list Margaret? Because I don't see the name Margaret as our registered delegate. If one of you happens to be the registered delegate and you're appearing under a different name, please raise your hand.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I don't see Margaret yet. Oh, hold on. I think I got it. So they just joined. Maggie.
Okay, yeah.
Here we go. They're just coming in now. So Margaret, are you there?
Yes, I am. Oh, I'm just get my camera going here.
Sure.
There we are.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
I'll just do the introduction again here. Under delegation, we have Partners for Climate Protection Program update. I will now call on Margaret Braun for her delegation. Margaret, you have 10 minutes to speak, followed by questions from the committee, and the meeting is yours now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, you're going to do me first?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to present my screen. That is not what I wanted to present. Sorry, it's giving me limited options on what to present here.
Okay.
Would you like us to put it up for you, Maggie?
No, I should share now. I don't know why it's not coming up as an option. It's okay, screen share. Did you just put that up or is that me?
I think that was Matthew that's done that, the city clerk.
Okay, so if I think I have it so that I can share now.
Okay, we'll start you now.
Okay.
I just lost the meeting.
Is that up on the screen?
Not yet.
You can see that now?
No,
No?
not yet.
Okay, I'm going to start my time now.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Maggie Braun. I have a background in ecosystem management technology, and I'm here to present on the Partners for Climate Protection program, the origin and aim of the program, its supporting rationale, other considerations, as well as benefits and disadvantages and recommendations. 2 years after Canada signed on to Agenda 21, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities created the Partners for Climate Protection program and sent a municipal primer to all Canadian municipalities. The subtitle of this document is Promoting Sustainable Development Through Local Strategic Action. Sustainable development is a term that was coined during the Brundtland Commission, which states that land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset controlled by individuals, and public control of land use is indispensable. On page 9 of the municipal primer is a flowchart of how Agenda 21, a blueprint for achieving sustainable development, would be implemented through Canadian municipalities. I'd like to draw your attention to the means of implementation, promoting education, public awareness and training, and information for decision making. I'm focusing on those 2 items today. So the Partners for Climate Protection program is a means of implementation which provides information for decision making based on Agenda 21 or UN directives. The PCP program offers tools, networking venues and events, case studies, and other informational resources, and access to the PCP Secretariat, who offers coaching and technical assistance, in particular drafting the municipal plans. The supporting rationale for the program, this is from the resolution to join, states that it is well established that climate change is increasing the frequency of extreme weather events, and goes on to say that these present a serious threat to our natural environment, our health, our jobs, and our economy. They also point out that Canada agreed to the Paris Climate Agreement, which is a commitment to limit global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. In the municipal primer, it states that human activities have resulted in global climate change and are expected to do so in the future, and that a lack of scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing sustainable development. So let's jump ahead 30 years to the year that we are in now and consider some other considerations. As currently as August 2023, the Clintel, the Global Climate Intelligence Group, released a World Climate Declaration stating that there is no climate change emergency, and it's been signed by almost 1,900 scientists in the field. They state that climate science should be less political, while climate policies should be more scientific. Scientists should openly address the uncertainties and exaggerations in their predictions of global warming, while politicians should dispassionately count the real cost as well as the imagined benefit of their policies. Only 0.3% of published scientific papers state that recent warming is mostly man-made. Natural factors as well as anthropogenic factors cause climate change. It's well established that the geological archive reveals that the Earth's climate has varied as long as the planet has existed. The Earth's orbit and tilt drive glacial and interglacial changes. The Little Ice Age ended as recently as 1850. Therefore, it is no surprise that we are now experiencing a period of warming. The world has warmed significantly less than predicted by the IPCC, that is the International Panel on Climate Change, and the main source of research for the Partners of Climate Protection Program. The gap between the real world and the modeled world tells us that we are far from understanding climate change. The IPCC models not only exaggerate the effect of greenhouse gases, they also ignore the fact that enriching the atmosphere with CO2 is beneficial. CO2 is not a pollutant. It is not even a primary greenhouse gas. It makes up 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. And the warming effect of CO2 declines as its concentration increases. Additional CO2 in the air promotes growth in the global plant biomass. The Earth is becoming greener, not turning into a desert. CO2 is favorable for nature and the greening of our planet. It is plant food. CO2 is profitable for agriculture. It helps feed people. CO2 increases the yields of crops worldwide. There is no statistical evidence that global warming is intensifying the hurricanes, floods, droughts, and such like natural disasters or making them more frequent. That is a direct quote from the World Climate Declaration signed by almost 1,900 scientists. So is it true? Is it well established that climate change is increasing these extreme weather events? Let's have a look. Most of Antarctica is cooling and gaining ice. Heat waves are not becoming more frequent. Forest fires across the Northern Hemisphere are decreasing. Extreme heat events are declining. There are more polar bears now than in the last 50 years. Warmer weather means fewer temperature-related deaths, and that is because cold weather kills far more people than heat every year. So again, there is no statistical evidence that global warming is intensifying natural disasters. And I would submit to you that a lack of scientific certainty should be used as a reason for postponing sustainable development. There's ample evidence that CO2 mitigation measures are as damaging as they are costly. Climate policy must respect scientific and economic realities. Canada's trees absorb far more carbon dioxide than we put out, and Canada is a carbon sink. There is no climate change emergency, therefore there is no cause for panic or alarm. We strongly oppose harmful and unrealistic net zero CO2 policies proposed for 2050. Go for adaptation instead of mitigation. Adaptation works whatever the cause is. And certainly here in Canada, we have a lot of issues that are affecting every Canadian that should be a focus of our those in public office. So the benefits of the program I have already stated, and of course, it's free. So what's the catch? The disadvantages of this program are that the municipal plans will be drafted with an emphasis on UN directives, so-called sustainable development, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and they are now including gender diversity and inclusion into their municipal climate action plans. This program will cost the council, committee, and staff time reviewing and accepting climate change reports. And this program will encourage the municipality to commit public funds to private sustainable development goals and foreign investors. Official plans based on sustainable development restrict private property rights and severances, limit mobility, drive future population growth to selected settlement areas, reduce tax revenue for smaller municipalities. Reduced revenue means reduced services. And again, you're committing public funds to private sustainable development goals. This will also limit decision-making and public consultation. Decision-making options will be limited to UN directives. Councillors who oppose the UN directives will face heavy consequences. This committee has a duty to maintain the decision-making options of the Council of the City of Thorold and protect the rights of the members of the public from foreign agendas. See the Statement of Principles as well as the Criminal Code for Section 46 and 83. We are also finding that deputations, they are attempting to deny deputations based on jurisdiction and stating that cities who partner with this program consider their decision-making authority under the broad umbrella of the United Nations directives, because Prime Minister Trudeau is aiming to achieve Agenda 2030. So the recommendations from this deputation are the following: that the Council of Thorold be directed to review the Municipal Primer of 1994 so they know exactly what they are signing up for. That the Council of Thorold be directed to review the World Climate Declaration of 2023 so they are up to date on current science when it comes to climate change. And that the Council of Thorold support the motion on March 19th, 2024 to rescind Report DC 8 to 2023 dated February 7th, 2023, respecting the Partners for Climate Protection Program, financial considerations, and be reconsidered, and the following recommendations be reconsidered: that the City of Thorold's participation in the Partners for Climate Protection Program be approved, that the staff be directed to conduct an annual review of the program, that an elected official be appointed as joint contact alongside an assigned planning staff for the PCP program updates and plan endorsement, and that Councillor O'Hara be appointed as joint contact alongside an assigned planning staff member for PCP program updates and plan endorsements. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for giving me this time, and I'm prepared to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation, Maggie. It's very interesting. I'm going to open the meeting up for discussion from the committee. If somebody wants to start some comments.
And I'm happy to put anything back up on the screen if you have any questions.
Okay, I see Leslie has her hand up.
It was very interesting. I've heard a lot of those facts before. Before we would do anything that you proposed at the end, as a committee, I would suggest that we should look at the documents you're suggesting we direct our councillors to look at before we make any decision one way or the other.
And I agree. Yes.
It's a lot to take in the differences.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that could be the case, that would be great.
Okay, Maggie, could you put the last screen up again for us to look at?
Yep.
What Leslie was referencing.
Can you see that there?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I feel like this isn't the right one. Did you put
yeah,
it
this
up,
one here. Yeah, this
Matthew?
one. Yeah.
I actually updated this just a little bit. Do you want me to share that, or?
What do you mean? What have you updated on it?
So there was just a few little words there. So Matthew, is it Matthew that's sharing his screen? If I could share, I can put this up.
You should be able to share.
Okay, thank you. Screen.
Okay. So is this what you're referring to, Leslie, that we should be looking at these various documents before we make any decision from the committee?
Yes, because I don't think we have enough information
Yeah,
from this
Yeah.
one meeting to agree to everything.
The municipal primer is only about 46 pages, so it's not a huge document, and it's of significance and interest.
okay. Is there any comments from the committee on the direction of reviewing all this information before we make a decision? We can probably come back to the next meeting. Comments, anybody?
And I will say that the World Climate Declaration is just page 3, and the rest is all the signatories and their titles. They're from their professional backgrounds, mainly in geology, physics, earth science related scientific fields.
Okay. Can I get any comments from anybody on this? Leslie?
You need a motion for us to look at these points that Maggie has raised and the documents. I mean, if it's only 46 pages, I would feel more comfortable reading it first and looking at it with a little bit more information. But we could make a motion to review that document.
I agree. Justin?
So one possible option from this was we were talking about possibly creating a working group. And if the working group wants to go through the documents, look through it and so forth, and then the documents, of course, can be added to the next meeting as an update, if that's where the committee wants to go.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, yeah, because we were going to establish a PCP working group. I'm not too sure who the members would be in it.
I'll just jump in there, Mr. Chair, for a second. I don't
Sure.
think you specifically need a motion to circulate the information. Staff can circulate those documents to all the committee members.
Okay.
Once you get to dealing with the setting up of your working group, you could certainly put this also on their agenda to specifically review that. However, staff can certainly circulate those 2 documents to all members of the committee. That's not a problem, and you don't need direction or a motion for that.
Okay. We need a motion, though, to establish the members of the working group.
So I think that was part of your agenda if you're
Yeah.
creating a working group, but I would just recommend that see if there's any further questions to the delegate and complete your delegation first, and then you can move on to committee business.
Okay. Is there any further questions to the delegate then? And if not, then we can move on. Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for the presentation, Maggie.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you on March 19th.
Okay. So now let's move on to if we'd like to form a working group, we're going to need some names of the group members, keeping it less than quorum. I'd be willing to sit in and listen to some of the conversation. Mark, you've got your hand up.
You're asking for volunteers to join the PCP working group?
Yes.
Yeah, so I volunteer.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to volunteer on this too? Leslie, you got your hand up?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Or are we going to keep it at that? Okay. So then,
So just a question, I don't know, I don't want to, is Councillor Hare interested since he is the councillor contact? I don't want to
Yes.
volunteer him, but I'll ask.
Councillor Hare, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't sure if that was going to be a conflict or not. Can I have both roles to play? And that's, I guess, a question for Justin.
I don't think so, unless Matthew has anything to add. Since you are the contact, it'd probably be the best to have it since you get all the information from it as well. Unless Matthew has anything to add.
No, I would agree with that, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Okay,
I think
then,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, you can add my name to the working group.
okay. We're up to our limit then with 4. Do we need a motion for that, Justin?
Yes, we'll just need a mover and a seconder and then
Okay.
vote on it. And just to confirm, I have Chair Petullo, Mark Freeman, Leslie Daniels, and Councillor O'Hare as the members.
Okay, I'll need a mover and a seconder to create this working group. Can I have a mover for that? Mark, seconder? Leslie? Okay, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that is carried. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, correspondence. Are there any items of correspondence, Matthew, that you can add?
This is Justin. I have 2 correspondence items. So just on February 27th, on Tuesday, Council passed the 2 Environment Committee resolutions that you sent to them. So the one was CL-C9-2024 regarding EV charging stations. It was amended to read that the consideration of EV charging options be included in the city's strategic plan development. So that was just changed slightly. And then the other one that was approved by council was CL-C10-2024, was the Trees for All initiative that staff be directed to review long-term planning for the Trees for All initiative. Those 2 were both passed this past Tuesday.
Okay, great. Yeah, I did see an article in the St. Catharines Standard about the EV charging, and I watched part of the council meeting, and I understand the position that Councillor D'Angelo was putting forward, that the motion was kind of backwards, and I can see going into the strategic plan first, and then later on working towards how anything can be implemented when we know a little bit more about what the EV charging is all about in terms of costs and responsibilities and that, and the growth of the market. So that's great. Okay. Let's go on to committee business. 8.1 Partners for Climate Protection Program update. We've already covered that. 8.2 an Earth Day working group update. I believe from the conversation, a meeting that Leslie and I had with Jeff and Dave Baldoni and Jacob Tedesco a few weeks back, we were going to be looking at the venue that the event would be held in. Is this Jeff or Jacob that's going to put forward this presentation?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let everyone know that I have looked into both venues. So the 2 venues that we were considering was the Thorold Doherty Arena, downtown Thorold, or Canada Games Park. I've kind of put together a few different budget numbers just to compare the costs between hosting it at either venue. So essentially, if we were to host it at Canada Game Park, the facility rental pre-tax would come to $1,800. And then for chairs and tables from the facility there, it would add another $450. So that would bring the cost just for the facility and tables and chairs there to $2,250 for Canada Games Park. And then if we were to do it at the Doherty, obviously it being a Thorold facility, we don't have any additional rental that we would charge ourselves for that. We do have some tables at the arena, but if we did need to rent tables and chairs for the event there, to get 110 chairs and 10 tables would cost us $297 for them to be delivered and picked up from a rental company. So that's kind of what I'm foreseeing is it would be about $300 and probably less, because I think we do have some chairs that could be available from another facility that we could use there. So yeah, about $2,000 more overall just for the facility and to kind of host the event at Canada Games Park. as compared to the Doherty Arena would be expected under $300 for the facility.
Yeah, the Canada Games Park was an excellent recommendation that came from Councillor Longo, and it is an opportunity to get people out there to see what Thorold has in terms of facilities. The meeting that we had with you and Dave and Jeff, I think we were pretty well in agreement with the Doherty Arena. Am I correct on that, Leslie? I think you're okay. Leslie, you got your hand up?
I think what we agreed to was looking at both facilities, but the argument was that if we went with the St. Catharines location, which is a great place, don't get me wrong, there is more of an incentive for St. Catharines to get the kudos of doing something than it is in downtown Thorold and our community as a whole. So I thought having it here was a better idea for the first year. If we do it again next year, we will have created something that Thorold has done, and we'll just be transplanting it to another location instead of ending up looking like we're partners with St. Catharines, which could take a credit.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, that was the discussion on not letting somebody hijack the show from us, and after all, it's our initiative. And I think Jeff did comment that there is going to be a community events organizer that's going to be hired by staff, and this would just be one more event that Thorold would become known for, of events that are going to be held throughout the year. So whether we would move after the first year or second year or third year, it all depends on our turnout, the numbers we're going to be getting for it. But certainly in the center of the city, the downtown area, it is a good idea in terms of ease of access. There are some costs associated, the benefits of that for the first year, because we don't know right now what kind of turnout we're going to have, the number of vendors. We're a little behind on time schedule for this, and there's still a lot of work to do. But in terms of selecting a facility, we need to do that this meeting here. I'd like to suggest that we put a motion on the floor for consideration to say yes, or yes for the Canada Games, or yes for the Thorold Arena. Councillor Longo, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Just like to make a few comments. First, maybe a question first to Mr. Tedesco. You said the only cost at the Doherty Arena would be for tables and chairs. Normally when the City of Thorold does an event, there's staff time considered and a budgetary item for that. Would there not be any time that would offset the difference between the two locations?
There would be a need for some staff time, but the arena would have staff that could be scheduled on a regular shift, so it wouldn't incur any additional cost for the staff. It would just simply be using the arena staff that are already available and making sure they're scheduled for those hours.
Right, but there's nobody in the arena those days, so we would be bringing people in, would we not?
No, we could have, it's far enough in advance that we could have the regular staff scheduled on those days.
Okay, all right, but there is a cost, right? It's just, you just haven't defined it.
Oh, in kind, yeah.
Oh, correct, I guess.
Okay, no, I just wanted to clarify that because there's a big gap here, and I think we should have all the facts on the table before we make a decision. The other comment I'd like to make is Leslie did say it was a St. Catharines facility, Canada Games Park. I'd like to just correct her. That's actually located in the city of Thorold.
I know that.
Yeah, it's not a St. Catharines facility. It's a multi-partner facility, and I believe, again, I brought this forward. I believe we need to start to use that facility more. We pay $1 million a year for the luxury to rent that facility. I think we need to start to use it. I believe that having it there would probably increase the excuse me, I've got somebody with me, would increase the attendance dramatically. And I believe if we're not going to do it next year, we at least need to look into this and get the region to partner with us for Earth Day. City of St. Catharines would probably partner with us. We could split the costs multiple ways, maybe even getting Brock University involved and splitting the costs many different ways so that we can get people from across the region coming to this. I don't think we want to limit this to just the city of Thorold. This is something that we need to look a little bigger at to draw more vendors, more attendees. And again, that's just my feeling. So it sounds like we're going to go to the Doherty this year, but I think we need to broaden our horizons for future years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. You raised some good points, and I agree with what you're saying. You know, we can look long term. Right now, as it's a first time event, we need to get some people attending. You know, there's survey sheets that we can put out that we can provide with the vendors. We can have survey sheets that attendees can fill out that can give us some ideas and suggestions on how we want to move forward with it. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Leslie, you got your hand up.
First of all, I think we all know that the facility is municipality owned and operated and so on. However, the perception of the public in Thorold is not that. So we need to deal with it. And so that's why I thought everything that we have run through the Senior Center, through the Thorold Garden Club, through District 9 of the OHA, we've never had a big cost. One of the things that I helped with, I hope was a help, Jacob, was creating a vendor list made up of other groups, organizations that have been using vendors at different types of events, whether it was flower shows or Earth Day or whatever. And I don't see the costs that you're talking about. I understand the costs of staff time, but as far as the overall operation and setting up this type of event, there aren't those costs. It's not, if it was, people like me wouldn't be running these events. We had over 400 people walk through the Senior Center on CD Saturday. I understand you would get people from St. Catharines looking at, noticing us there. But my fear is that they would get the credit, whether it was right or wrong, because people assume that that is in St. Catharines, not in Thorold. And I would like Thorold to get that benefit.
Okay, Councillor O'Hare, you got your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things, and I'm going to piggyback on Councillor Longo's points here. I really see that we are in a bit of a time crunch this year. So to expand into a multi-group sponsored event, we just wouldn't be able to pull it off so quickly. However, the idea of hosting it at the Canada Games Park and making it a huge Niagara event sounds very promising. Sounds as if we could be known for hosting this event, which is on more and more people's minds these days. And it could grow to become something that we are recognized for as well. So I like the suggestion that Councillor Longo brought forward, that this is something we could look to in the future. And I know cost is always an issue. However, there are ways to reduce costs, and sponsorship is certainly one of these venues that we can look at to cover rental costs, table costs, maybe a vendor fee. But as far as I see it, these are concerns that we will have ongoing. They're not going to stop now. And in fact, they will grow. So the larger the venue and the more people we could attract would be the better to help us in doing what we can to offset climate change. So those are just a couple of thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Well considered. Any other comments? You got anything, Mark? You're quiet on this particular topic. I was thinking that, you know, the Environment Committee could have a table set up at the event, and, you know, there's an opportunity for certain other groups to be involved in this. You know, Leslie's Garden Club, probably the Lake Gibson Corridor Group. They're, you know, they are a disbanded committee, but I certainly believe that, you know, when we're dealing with the biodiversity of Thurl, people need to know what we're trying to do. The Lake Gibson Corridor Group did have some unfinished business on their agenda when they became a community liaison group. So, you know, they can set up and have a table there and get the message out to people to get them to understand what Thurl has to offer and how we can get the people involved. Comments, Mark?
To you, Mr. Chair. I really honestly haven't given it a ton of thought. I was understanding that yourself and others were working on this. But you raise a really interesting question in terms of inviting other groups to have a booth there in terms of like just environmental groups. I do know, shout and see if I know most of them are already participating in their own Earth Days, and that's part of our challenge is everyone sort of does their own thing. But I could definitely invite a few to this venue as well.
Yeah, what I was hoping for
It's a good idea.
through this discussion, once we settle on the venue, I was hoping that the city could probably do some kind of a media release calling for vendors. And Leslie and I are on this working group for the Earth Day event, and we could probably go through the list of anybody that wants to step forward and pick and choose who. I know Leslie's got quite a list already. I'm going to go to her right now because she's got her hand up.
Yes, and one of the things that we've been really actively involved in over the last few years is bringing all. There are lots of environmental groups in this area, some that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And they have their own audience. And what we've started doing, because I'm the director for District 9, is inviting them to be vendors at each one of anything we run, because it helps address community spirit. It also educates our public as to who are active in the area. So those are things I haven't put them on Jacob's list yet. But we do have a list of those people that will come out. I think, you know, you make rules around things like this, like if they're a nonprofit, you don't charge them. Mm-hmm. But if they're going to make money off this and advertising, et cetera, as a vendor, they're used to being charged. They come out because that's a good place for them to be to just distribute their information. So yeah, as long as you're all inclusive. I'm just saying that I've collected vendor. I did it yesterday morning. We had a regional meeting of health and age-related issues, and they talked about a vendor list they'd had for a conference. And a couple of people, I walked up to them and said, "Look, I collect vendor lists. Could you please give me access to yours?" And then I pass it on to Jacob. So we're doing part of that work that would have cost staff time or money in the past. Yeah. So I think it's a great idea.
When you talk about time, I'll give you a little history, because I don't think people realize, I mean, we're at a very late stage, but I started this back, I believe in May. I met with Matthew and Stephanie Jarvis and Marcia Capola and Tony Vandermas. They were the chair and vice chair of the community events committee. And I put forward the proposal of doing, Thorold hosting an Earth Day event. Tony Vandermas put forward some suggestions of some committees and, reaching out to the TCAG and the Thorold Library, Lake Gibson Corridor. So I attended their meetings and put forward the pitch to them. I had to do this in order to come back to the Community Events Committee to get them to authorize it, which I did. I believe it was early July meeting. I met with them and did a presentation to their committee. And I was quite taken aback when the chair, after I did my presentation, the chair of the Community Events Committee looked at me and said, "So what do you want from us?" And I didn't know what to say at the time, but I said, "Well, I had to come back to you because you're responsible for any city-run events." And it just was a motion that they put forward supporting it, but they never took it over. I did a presentation to council in August, and council was very supportive of it. I did say at the council meeting, I'd already reached out to at least a dozen different organizations that would participate as vendors. Everybody was well aware that I was talking to, and I did mention this at some of our own committee meetings, that I was directing the theme of the Earth Day event towards the youth. You're looking at maybe the 9 to 14-year-old age bracket. Those are our future environmental stewards. And through my hobby business that I have, Weeby House, I'm involved with a lot of youth organizations, and I'm starting to do a lot of workshops with the kids. And their thirst is just incredible. So this is where it's kind of been. I just met with Megan Gilchrist yesterday from the TCAG. I'm going to do a workshop with a group of her kids at the event. So I gave her a run through of the assembly of the working kit that I have. She's going to have something similar set up for kids' activities that she had at the Thorold CD Saturday event. Joanne DeQuattro from the library board is going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to offer a workshop for her kids. Then we get into some of the more serious vendors that are sending the message to the adults. So we're trying to combine, the adults coming in and picking up some stuff. But I think of what, when I did the presentation, the Thorold Council, a comment that Councillor O'Hare made at the end, directing it towards the kids as a former teacher. He knows full well that what you do for the kids in the schools, they bring it home and it's conversed at the dinner table. So they pass the message on to the adults. So hopefully we're not too far behind on this, and we can really step on the gas and get moving forward. Leslie.
And one thing I want to mention is over the last few events, we've formed a partnership that includes the library, the senior center, the garden club, the Thorold Activities Committee, and that's what we're doing as well. So when you're talking to me, you're talking to them. Just let you know.
Yeah. Okay. So where are we? Are we going to decide on the venue here? I think this needs to be done because with a lot of the vendors that I've reached out to, I've been telling them there's going to be a venue site coming forward. The date and the time is pretty well already determined. I mean, it's going to be the third Saturday in April 20th, and the time would likely be 10 a.m. to about 3 p.m., which is pretty standard for vendor shows. We're going to move forward with selecting a site. Comments? Should I put forward a motion then? Councillor O'Hare?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I'd like to just say that I could support having the Earth Day event at Doherty Arena this year simply because of the lack of time to get organized and put everything into place with all the other groups. But I think it should be, again, as Councillor Longo said, our sights and goals should be to make this a big Niagara event at the Canada Games facility with multiple municipalities involved and us hosting. So
Yeah,
that's some thoughts.
I agree. This is as a first time event, we're going to learn, and then we can, we can sit back and the working group, if we can pick up some more people after the first run, we can start to look at a longer term plan, how we want to see it grow, and with the resources that we've got, that we can manage it, and see how we proceed. So is there a motion to do it at the downtown arena? Justin, can you put something up on the screen that we can vote on?
Sure. One second. Can you see that?
Sure.
Oops. Yeah, it's just that staff consider the selection of the Frank Doherty Arena as the location for the Earth Day event.
Okay, yeah. Are we okay with that? Councilor O'Hare?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Can we also add with the goal of looking to possibly host next year at the Canada Games so that it's already in our sights? Or
So this would just stay with the committee since it's just for them to think about and consider. If we add what you're thinking, that would should go to council. So possibly one suggestion would be to maybe wait till later so that this can get moving and not have to wait, so that, because we're in a bit of a time constraint, of course, with the event. However, that's just a recommendation. We can do whatever you wish on that.
No, fair enough. Okay. I accept that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Justin. Can I get a mover for this motion? Leslie, seconder? Can I get a seconder for this? Okay, I'll do the seconder. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Okay, that's okay. That's carried. Great. Yeah, and then I did, maybe I can direct this to Jeff if he's still here. I did ask if the city could do a call out for vendors. I know Leslie's got a list, but probably Jacob's got quite a few. If it's possible that some kind of a media release could go out to let people know that there is this Earth Day event coming up. It's, I guess, preliminary advertising. Get it out there. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate the advice and the direction that's coming from this committee. It was our intention to bring a report to council on March 19th that talked about the advice that you had given and how we might roll this out for the April 20th event, because we don't have a budget.
Right.
And there will be some expenses. We'll need to work out some of the details about how do we charge, who do we charge, and some other elements too that, and I want to be careful that the rest of council is well aware of our conversations and our efforts and the use of staff time here, because technically this is not a city event that has been approved in our council budget, and despite the good work of Jacob Tedesco, he technically doesn't start his job as a special event coordinator until April 1st. So I wanted you to know that we still have to let the rest of council know what we're doing here and why we're doing it before we start rolling out any advertising or marketing, because I mean, I suppose there could be the situation where they said, where council says, no, we want staff to work on the other things that we've given them. And next year is next year.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand. I get it. We're putting a cart before the horse. So I guess, Leslie, you and I are going to have to meet before the 19th sometime and get some details on how we want to charge the vendors, and I'll expect a little bit more input from you than I can offer. You've got more experience on setting up shows, so hopefully we can come back to Jeff and
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and I think that's great. I mean, the work that you and Leslie have done has been really helpful by giving us the contact information. It's just a matter of the timing for pushing the button to roll it out.
Yeah.
And I think, whatever time we have available to commit to this, we'll certainly do that, recognizing that this year is going to be kind of a reach out and trying to make the early connection with the idea that, next year we can think about a different venue and different components like rain barrel giveaways and tree giveaways and all those other things. But I think you have the right idea here, and we're happy to support the effort until we get the firm direction from council, and then we'll be all the way on.
Yeah, and the next one we can start a lot earlier. Okay, thank you. Any other comments for the birthday update? Okay, seeing none, we can go to 8.3 Boulevard Planting Working Group update. That is Leslie and I. We formed this group. I just might want to say, Leslie, I was at the Fawn Hill CD Saturday last week, I believe, and I ran into Heather Swan from Plantwise Design, and she indicated that we've got a business owner in the downtown area that is looking at doing boulevard planting. And apparently she's been reaching out to the city, but I guess she hasn't been reaching out to the right people. I was waiting for Heather. Heather was going to give her my contact so that they could reach out to me, and you and I could probably engage in some conversation. I haven't heard anything yet. I'm going to reach out to Heather again and see if we can talk to this person and see if this will help us in moving forward a bylaw modification related to boulevard planting. So it would be great to have somebody from the public standing behind us saying, this is what we want to see. So I'll keep you up to date on that and see how we can proceed with that. Do you have anything to add at all to the boulevard planting update?
No, but I totally agree with that. When we set up a committee to meet, it'd be interesting. There are so many of them on Welland Street. It'd be interesting. Alan talks to some of the ones that have dogs because he walks their dog back there. It'd be interesting if there were some people there that have comments and would be interested in legalizing what they're already doing.
Sure. Yeah, and there is a couple on Welland Street that are, a little overgrown, and I'd hate to see the city come in and instruct them to remove them because they are in violation.
Danger. They don't have any violation because they have no bylaw, but
yeah,
they are dangerous from a point of view of,
pedestrian traffic
on Cactus, for example. So
okay, thank you very much. Let's go to 8.4 committee long-term goals. Mark, I really like the that email you sent out with your proposed objective, the 3 different categories. You've got such an extensive list here. There's a lot that are really worth looking forward to discussing. I do think that everything you've got here is a little too much for one meeting to talk about, but we can certainly possibly have a meeting. I know our next meeting is scheduled for May, but I can always set up a meeting for April where we can really talk about a lot of the issues you have on this particular issue, and we can really zero in on some of the top ones and build a long-term plan out of that. You got your hand up, comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it okay if I speak for a few minutes here on this subject? I'll probably take about 4 minutes. Just trying to summarize the things that have been in my head, which is something that I shared with you. But I think this makes a lot more sense the way I'll present it right now. So looking at our objectives, I went back, as you suggested, to look at what we were given as a committee as the terms of reference. So I'll just quote 2 sentences out of the terms of reference, which I think is important, which is the committee's mandate is to advise council on environmental, energy conservation, green energy solutions, environmental sustainability, and environmental regulations, et cetera, et cetera. And the intent is to promote the integration of environmental and energy conservation considerations into the planning and development of city projects and programs. So that is established. Now, what I'd like to do is how do we translate that into some tangible items, and looking at the basics of the committee's name, climate change and biodiversity. So in terms of climate change mitigation, we know that climate change is attributable to the excessive amounts of greenhouse gases that's being released into Earth's atmosphere. So in Canada, greenhouse gas emissions are typically the result of the extraction, processing, transportation, and burning of fossil fuels. Although there's also some heavy industry, agriculture, and waste management activities that also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. So I'm thinking that in terms of, in accordance with the Paris Agreement, Canada's objectives are to reduce greenhouse gases by 45% by 2030. So I think that the committee's actions should be aligned with that goal. And assuming that there are no fossil fuel extraction or processing facilities in Thorold, then we should be looking at the emissions from the transportation and burning of fossil fuels. Now, that said, we've already passed the item about the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, specifically the Partners of Climate Protection Program. And this is an excellent program that Thorold is now enrolled in. And so as a result, that activity, the PCP, will be doing all the steps that need to be done to understand where the emissions are in Thorold. So I recommend that this committee be somehow engaged in the activity of the PCP development. Okay. Also, the Niagara Climate Change Action Network, they have an initiative underway, which Thorold is part of, which is the development of a community energy plan. And this is expected to be driving the Niagara region to be taking the necessary steps to lower emissions, amongst other things, via the development of strategic plans, which ultimately typically end in green development standards. So again, I recommend that this committee be engaged somehow in those activities, in the development of the strategic plan in the appropriate area, obviously. I think that this committee could also provide some support before a lot of these activities get too far underway. By that I mean the Niagara Region Climate Action Network. That's like going to take years to roll out. So we can do some things in parallel or in advance of that. That was climate change mitigation. In terms of climate change adaptation, we need to really be thinking about the potential for extreme weather events. And that could be, it could include firestorms and floods. So we need to understand where the vulnerabilities are in and developing plans to avoid the worst possible consequences of weather events. and or the degradation of habitat due to pollution. Best practices in this area generally state that for biodiversity to thrive, we need 30 to 50% of land to be left in a natural and connected state. I don't even think that's possible anymore in the world, but I don't know. We need to understand what is remaining of Thorold's natural areas and then how best to manage that. So I'm assuming that some of these activities are already going on within the city, and I'm not aware of them. So I'm suggesting that we initiate a working group to properly develop the committee's short and long-term objectives. However, to do that successfully, we're going to need some interaction with and guidance from the appropriate folks from the city who are working on the PCP and the strategic plan, as an example, so that we understand how we can contribute to the activities going on. I understand that the city has already requested public input on the strategic plan, and looking for input in 2 weeks from now. So I don't know what the mechanism is, but I believe we need to start with initiating a working group to develop these objectives.
Yeah.
If
I
that
think
makes sense to folks on this committee.
the strategic plan, there's a certain.
I know I said a whole lot there, so if there's questions or.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. The strategic plan is on the city website right now, and it's a survey. And I think it has to be done by what, mid-March or so. So it's really short notice for us to, really develop a lot to go into it. I know Jeff mentioned at our last meeting, I think when we had the dog park presentation about the strategic plan and this group putting forward something related to environment within the strategic plan. You're right in setting up a working group. I'm up to my ears in work right now, but you've got the right idea that we should put forward something rather than submitting on the survey that you're a resident. We should have something formal come from this committee that carries a little bit of weight. I'm not too sure how we can fit that all into our working schedule. Leslie, you got your hand up?
Well, I agree with you. I agree with Mark. I don't think, having not looked at the document, but I don't think that it would take a lot, because we have what Mark has written out as what we would like to be involved in.
Right.
Look at the strategic plan as a working group, even a small one, and identify the areas that some of the things Mark has already done for us are should be linked to. And we probably could come up with something that supported various areas, that way to have an input at this late date.
Okay, Mark, can you provide something that is a little bit condensed and not so. There's a lot here you're talking about. I know the strategic plan, I think it's a 4-year plan, so there's timelines that I think need to be taken into consideration too, that could be considered with the various points you're making. What can you come up with?
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, and I see Linda has her hand up, so I'll just quickly say that yes, I have a document that I just read from, essentially, which is just bullets on the main points that where we need to be engaged. But I also understand the realistic settings here. So we should also be looking at narrowing it down to 1, 2, or 3 things that are doable in a short time frame, That's also part of the discussion, just so you understand. I'm not thinking we're going to do everything. We're not going to boil it to start at this point, and then I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry. Back to you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, Linda had her hand up.
Yeah. Okay,
I
Linda.
just had my hand up because I couldn't get in.
Oh.
Didn't seem to be able to get in, and I apologize for being late. I got going on another project, and what I would suggest is if I say I'm going to be here and I'm not here at 10 o'clock, give me a call.
Okay.
There's too many things on my mind these days, and I apologize. I didn't want to be late. I am.
Okay.
Okay. Just give me a call.
Okay, Mark, you said you've got some bullet points. Do you want to? How are we gonna proceed with this? Do we need to set up a working group for this particular, Justin?
So it depends on what the committee would like to do. If you want to put a working group together, at least just for 1 or 2 meetings worth, to come up with some goals and objectives, and then have a more condensed list. And then that list can be brought to the committee to be discussed if they want to do those goals or change them and so forth. That could be an option.
The deadline for the strategic plan survey, I mean, if we had to go into, say, an April meeting and approve a list, would it still be accepted for submission from this committee?
So I don't know if Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going through various stages. So they just did a staff stage, then they're doing now the public stage, and then I think they're going to look at other city staff. They're going to talk to counselors and so forth. So I don't know if this would be directed to staff and then they could bring it up through from the committee, unless Jeff has a better understanding of the process of it. I'm not certain.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks through you, Mr. Chair. So the strategic plan, the initial call is really just to get an idea about, what are those fundamental elements, those pillars that we're going to be using as key factors when we make our decisions moving forward. And to Mark Freeman's point, we have to be careful that we don't have such a broad list that it waters down the whole process. But once we establish those fundamental pillars, then we can start to look at specific projects and deliverables that we can achieve within a 4-month, a 5-year span. And so I think the opportunity to participate shouldn't be really bound by a timeline. But if you wanted to put something forward initially in this first survey, either as an individual, as a committee, that would be fine, with the understanding that the process is going to come back to the public and say, here's what we've found, here's what we've collected, and what are your thoughts? And that might be another opportunity for you to drill down a little bit more or broaden the scope of the information they've collected. So I think my advice to you would be, participate in the survey, as an individual, to at least make sure that your individual comments have been captured, and then maybe look at the recommendations that come out of the first cut as a committee to see where we've missed the boat.
Okay. So the initial survey, when would the information from that be available?
I don't have the specific dates, Mr. Chair, but I know that we'd like to have this process wrapped up by the middle or late summer.
Okay.
So you can expect that in the next 2 to 3 months, you'll be getting more information about what the community has provided the consultant.
Okay, thank you. You okay with that, Mark? That gives us a bit of time to sit down and go over everything and try kind of drill down what, like you say, both you and Jeff are saying, the doable stuff. This is something that we can I think achieve within a reasonable time. We can wait till the next meeting or so to have some more discussions on this.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. So my point, I guess, is really around, I can randomly state what is sort of generic objectives for climate change, mitigation, adaptation, and biodiversity loss. But the piece that I need help on is integrating that with what the city is thinking. So and where we can make that progress. And I don't have insight into that, but I'll start by sharing the high level statements that I went through today. I can share that with the committee right after this call. And I guess if we have the working group, what I'm requesting is that we have some dialogue with somebody from the city in that working group. Take a whole lot of time from the city, but I think we need that discussion before we can really go much further with the high level.
Right. Is there somebody from the city that we could have in this working group?
At least just for the initial meeting.
What was that you said, Mark?
Sorry, I said at least for the initial meeting, and I apologize. My internet is unstable here. When the weather goes up and down like a yo-yo, like it has been, my internet is crap. So sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay. So for this initial meeting, is there a staff member that we could have available?
Through the chair.
So Dave has his hand up.
Yeah, I would like to participate in that that discussion.
Okay. Jeff?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think you can count on staff's input, whether it's Dave or Jacob or myself or somebody else from our team. We can share the responsibility depending on who's available to meet your schedule.
Okay. So David put his hand up for that then, right?
Yes, and I absolutely support that decision 100%.
Way to go. Okay, you okay with that, Mark?
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to send your bullets, and then after this meeting, and then we can set something up and see how we can move forward with it. Okay. Is there any further discussion on that?
Well, do we need a motion? I think Justin was just going to talk about that.
Yes, you are right. But yeah, I wasn't sure if the chair was getting to that or not, so I was waiting. So right now the wording is that the committee form a working group to develop short and long-term objectives regarding the committee's mandate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And so we'll just need a mover and a seconder and the names of the people for the group.
I guess you can put my name on it, Leslie's name, and looks like Mark.
Mark. Anyone else?
Okay, that covers.
So just a mover and seconder for you, Mr. Chair.
Leslie moves and Mark seconds. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, so I guess that's it for 8.4. We can move into the roundtable discussion. Does anybody have anything for the roundtable? Leslie?
No, just that I have another meeting at 11:30.
Okay, thank you. Mark, anything to add for roundtable?
No, thank you.
Okay, Linda, do you have anything for the roundtable?
No.
Okay.
Just wondering how Tim's doing on his 10,000 trees. I wish you well on that.
He's got
How we doing on that?
9,999 to go.
Oh, no.
Oh, I was going to say closer to 9,000.
Good. That's a good start.
Okay, Councilor O'Hare, anything for roundtable?
They know.
Okay, Councillor Longo, anything for roundtable?
Nothing today, thanks, Chair.
Okay, I've got nothing for roundtable. Any of the staff members on in the meeting right now got something for roundtable? Jacob?
Nothing myself. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Dave, you got anything to say?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, anything to comment on?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Nothing today.
Okay. Very good. I guess that's it for this meeting. Our next actual scheduled meeting is supposed to be May 3rd, but evidently with what we've discussed with the working group and long-term goals, we're going to need
yeah, of course, absolutely.
we're going to need something before then.
Yes, I promise.
So I would say
Okay, all right, bye.
the next meeting, I'd be looking at April 5th. To get into our long-term objectives. That's going to encompass quite a bit of time. Justin, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, so that was a day that would be advisable. The main item I would say that would definitely need to be discussed would be the Earth Day event for sure.
Oh, yes.
And then
yes.
Any other items that are necessary, of course, we can add as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you for the clarification on that. Okay. For adjournment, there no being further any business, this meeting is adjourned at 11:23.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Excellent meeting. Enjoy your weekend.